Imagine throwing your child the birthday party of their dreams, only for your entire family to ditch him. Then, a week later, they demand $1,500 for a lavish Sweet 16 for your niece, without a single apology. I'm Belle, I'm 34, and my entire world revolved around my incredible son, Lucas, who had just turned 8. For weeks, I had poured every ounce of love and effort into planning his dinosaur-themed birthday party, desperate for this to be the year my family would finally show they cared. I painstakingly wrote out each invitation, transformed our backyard into a prehistoric wonderland, and watched Lucas's eyes sparkle with anticipation. But as the party time came and went, that radiant smile slowly, tragically, faded with every disappointed glance he cast at our empty driveway. When he finally looked up at me, his little voice soft with confusion, and asked, "Mommy, where's Grandma?" My heart didn't just break, it shattered into a million irreparable pieces. Trust me, what my mother did next will absolutely shock you. Being a single mom to Lucas has been the most challenging, yet undeniably rewarding experience of my life. Since his father walked out when I was 7 months pregnant, it's been just the two of us facing the world together. I always held on to this quiet hope that my family would step up, would become that additional support system Lucas deserved. But reality, as it often does, proved to be a cruel counter-narrative to my deepest wishes. My relationship with my mother, Diane, has always been complicated. Growing up, I was constantly overshadowed by my younger sister, Amanda, who was 3 years my junior. Amanda was Mom's golden child, the one who could do no wrong. She was the star ballet dancer, the pageant queen, the straight, a student whose every achievement was paraded through every family conversation. My own accomplishments, by comparison, barely even registered on my mother's radar. This painful pattern, this ingrained favoritism, didn't just continue into adulthood. It unfortunately extended to our children. Amanda's daughter, Sophia, now 15, received treatment from my mother that could only be described as royal. Christmas presents? Sophia got designer clothes and the latest tech gadgets, while Lucas would get clearance rack toys. Vacation time? My mother had taken Sophia to Disney World 3 times, but had never once offered to take Lucas. Despite this blatant, soul-crushing favoritism, I tried so desperately to maintain some semblance of family connection, all for Lucas's sake. I swallowed my pride countless times, attending every single one of Sophia's birthday parties, dance recitals, and school events, while politely accepting the constant absences at Lucas's most important moments. "Sorry, we have plans" became the standard, unfeeling response to our invitations. Though social media would later cruelly reveal that those plans were often nothing more important than shopping trips or casual lunches. Last Thanksgiving, Lucas spent hours making handcrafted greeting cards for everyone. My mother barely glanced at his painstakingly created artwork before setting it aside without a single comment. Yet, she proudly displayed Sophia's store-bought card on her refrigerator for months. I saw the confusion in Lucas's innocent eyes, but I still made excuses, telling him Grandma probably put his special card in her bedroom, where she could see it every morning. Even then, I was trying to protect him from a pain I knew all too well. For Lucas's 8th birthday, I was absolutely determined to create something truly special. Dinosaurs had become his latest passion, ignited by a school field trip to the Natural History Museum. For weeks, he talked about nothing else, devouring books on paleontology, creating elaborate drawings of prehistoric landscapes. His excitement was infectious, and I channeled every bit of it into planning what I hoped would be the perfect celebration. Despite my modest teacher's salary, I saved for months to give him an unforgettable day. I transformed our backyard into a Jurassic wonderland with a hand-painted volcano backdrop, huge dinosaur footprints leading from our front door, and fossil dig sites with hidden treasures. I even baked and intricately decorated a 3-tiered Stegosaurus cake and filled dinosaur egg piñatas with his favorite candies and small dinosaur figures. 3 weeks before the party, I sent personalized invitations to every single family member. For my mother and Amanda, I included handwritten notes, emphasizing just how much Lucas was looking forward to seeing them. I received text confirmations from almost everyone, including my mother, who wrote, "Wouldn't miss it for the world, sweetheart." Lucas was over the moon with anticipation. Every night before bed, he would count down the days, updating me on new dinosaur facts he planned to share with his grandma and cousin. He even used his precious allowance money to buy Sophia a special bracelet with a tiny dinosaur charm, carefully wrapping it himself. "Do you think Sophia will like it?" he'd ask repeatedly, and I'd assure him, with a heavy heart, that she would treasure his thoughtful gift. The night before his birthday, Lucas could barely sleep. "Tomorrow's going to be the best day ever," he whispered as I tucked him in, looking at his hopeful, innocent face. I prayed that for once my family would show up, not just in body, but in spirit. That for once they would truly see the amazing, loving boy I was blessed to call my son. The morning of Lucas's birthday dawned bright and clear, as if nature itself approved of our celebration plans. Lucas bounded into my bedroom at 6:30, already dressed in his special dinosaur shirt and khaki explorer shorts he'd laid out the night before. His face was alight with pure, unadulterated excitement as he bounced on the edge of my bed. Mom, it's party day. Do you think Grandma remembered to bring her camera like she promised? I want to show her how I can name all 50 dinosaurs in my book now." I smiled at his enthusiasm, trying to quell my own nervous energy. "I'm sure she did, buddy. Now, how about some special birthday pancakes while we finish setting up?" The next few hours flew by in a flurry of final preparations. I arranged platters of dinosaur-shaped sandwiches, set up the fossil dig area with buried treasures, and positioned the water balloon T-Rex target game. Lucas followed me around, adding his own touches to the decorations and practicing his dinosaur roars that he planned to teach the younger cousins. At 10:15, my phone pinged with a text from Amanda. My stomach tightened instantly as I read it. Sophia got called for a last-minute audition for a commercial. Such an amazing opportunity we can't miss. "So sorry, but we won't make it today. Lucas will understand. It's important for her future. We'll make it up to him sometime." I took a deep breath before responding. Lucas will be really disappointed. The audition wasn't scheduled earlier. He's been talking about showing Sophia his dinosaur collection for weeks. Her reply came quickly. "These things happen. Sophia needs to take every opportunity that comes her way. I'm sure a kid's party won't be that exciting anyway. We'll drop a gift next time we're in the neighborhood." I didn't show Lucas the message. Instead, when he asked, I assured him that Amanda and Sophia were just running late. "They'll be here soon," I said, hating the lie, but unwilling to break his heart before the party even started. As noon approached, the designated party time, I found myself refreshing my phone constantly. Lucas had positioned himself by the front window, dinosaur encyclopedia in hand, ready to greet the first arrivals. 12:15 came and went, with no guests and no messages. At 12:30, my mother finally texted. "Terrible migraine came on suddenly. Need to lie down in darkroom. Can't drive. Sorry. Tell Lucas happy birthday." No mention of her earlier promise. No offer to come later. Not even a phone call, so she could hear his voice on his special day. Just a brief, impersonal text. Over the next hour, the excuses rolled in from aunts, uncles, and cousins. Car trouble, unexpected work call, stomach bug. With each message, the knot in my stomach grew tighter, heavier. None of these people had bothered to call earlier. None offered alternative plans to celebrate. It was painfully, humiliatingly clear that Lucas's birthday had been at the absolute bottom of everyone's priority list. Lucas remained by the window, his initial excitement slowly giving way to a confused vigilance. Every passing car made him perk up, only to slump back down when it continued past our driveway. "Maybe they got lost, Mom," he suggested after an hour of waiting. "Should I put more dinosaur footprints out front so they can find our house better?" I swallowed hard against the lump forming in my throat. "That's a great idea, buddy." I managed, helping him place additional paper footprints along our walkway, buying time, preserving his hope a little longer. By 2 o'clock, the brutal reality was unavoidable. No one was coming. The carefully arranged food sat untouched. The games remained unplayed. The little goodie bags lined up neatly by the door had no takers. Mom. Lucas's voice was small as he finally turned from the window, his dinosaur book clutched tightly against his chest. Did I do something wrong? Why doesn't anyone want to come to my party? In that agonizing moment, I witnessed my child's first profound disappointment. The first crack in his belief that the world is inherently good and fair. I saw him struggling to understand a rejection that made absolutely no sense to his 8-year-old heart. He was fighting tears, trying so incredibly hard to be brave. And it took every ounce of my strength not to completely break down in front of him. No, sweetheart, I said, kneeling to meet his eyes. You didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes people make mistakes and miss out on amazing things. And today, they're missing out on celebrating with the most awesome 8-year-old paleontologist in the world. I forced brightness into my voice. You know what? This means more cake for us. And I bet we can beat all the records on those games since we got them all to ourselves. Lucas nodded bravely, but the sparkle had left his eyes. We spent the afternoon playing the games I'd planned, taking turns with the activities meant for groups. I exaggerated my dinosaur fear when he chased me with his T-Rex figure. I let him win at the fossil identification race. I sang happy birthday with enough enthusiasm for 20 people when he blew out his candles. But as the sun began to set and we cleaned up the untouched decorations, I found him sitting quietly by the gift table, holding the small wrapped package he'd bought for Sophia. Tears were silently tracking down his cheeks. She didn't even want her present, he whispered, not looking up. Grandma didn't want to see my dinosaurs. That night, after an attempt at a cheerful birthday dinner at his favorite restaurant, Lucas fell asleep, clutching the unopened gift meant for his cousin. I sat in the living room, surrounded by deflated dinosaur balloons and untouched party favors, finally allowing my own tears to fall. Something fundamental had shifted today, and I knew our family relationships would never be quite the same. The fallout from the birthday disaster wasn't immediately obvious, but within a week, the damage became unmistakable. Lucas's second-grade teacher, Mrs. Bennett, called me after school on Thursday, concern evident in her voice. Belle, I want to check in about Lucas. He's not been himself this week. During group activities, he's been hanging back, and at recess, he's been playing alone rather than with his usual friends. When I asked if everything was okay, he just shrugged and said, "Sometimes people don't want to be around you, and that's okay." Her words felt like a punch to the gut. Lucas had always been social and enthusiastic in school. The thought of him withdrawing, internalizing the rejection he'd experienced, was utterly heartbreaking. That night, I noticed he'd left his beloved dinosaur books untouched on his shelf, opting instead for superhero comics. When I asked about the switch, he simply said, "Dinosaurs are for babies," though I'd catch him looking longingly at his paleontology poster when he thought I wasn't watching. The nightmare started soon after. I'd wake to his crying and find him tangled in his sheets, upset about dreams where he was alone in dark museums or forgotten in empty classrooms. When I tried to comfort him, he would ask questions that no parent is ever prepared to answer. Why doesn't Grandma love me as much as Sophia? Is it because I don't have a dad? Is that why nobody came? If I was better at sports or got all A's like Sophia, would they like me more? Each question tore at my already wounded heart. I tried reaching out to my family, starting with my mother. Her dismissive response left me seething. "You're being melodramatic, Belle. It was just a birthday party. There will be others." Children need to learn disappointment early. It builds character. When I pointed out that Sophia had never experienced a similar character-building disappointment, she quickly changed the subject. "That's different. Sophia has her auditions and competitions. She faces rejection all the time." The conversation ended with her typical guilt trip. "I raised you better than to hold grudges. Families should always forgive." The final straw came when I was scrolling through social media that weekend and discovered photos posted during the exact hours of Lucas's party. There was my mother, Amanda, and Sophia, along with 2 aunts who had claimed previous engagements, all smiling at the mall food court. My mother was treating them to ice cream sundaes, captioning the photo, "Saturday fun with my favorite girls." The timestamp was 1:15 p.m., right when Lucas was still watching our driveway for arriving guests. When confronted, my mother was unapologetic, utterly unrepentant. It was just a kid's party with dinosaurs and games. Sophia had her heart set on that new outfit for her audition photos, and you know how sensitive she gets if she's disappointed. Lucas is a boy. Boys bounce back easier. Something hardened within me at those words. The casual cruelty, the blatant favoritism, the complete disregard for my child's feelings, all packaged as normal family dynamics. I've been making excuses for this behavior for years, normalizing what should never have been accepted. I scheduled an appointment with a child therapist the following Monday. Dr. Reynolds was warm but direct in her assessment after meeting with Lucas. Children are remarkably perceptive, Belle. Lucas has picked up on the differential treatment from his extended family, and unfortunately, he's internalized it as a reflection of his own worth. At his developmental stage, he doesn't understand adult motivations or family dynamics. He just knows that something about him wasn't enough to bring people he loves to his special day. She leaned forward, her expression serious. The good news is that he has you, a loving, attentive mother who sees his value. That's his anchor. But I would strongly recommend establishing clear boundaries with family members whose behavior undermines his sense of self-worth. Children this age can't do that for themselves. Over the next few weeks, I focused intensely on rebuilding Lucas's confidence. We joined a community dinosaur club where he met other children who shared his passion. I arranged playdates with classmates whose parents I'd gotten to know and trust. Slowly, I watched him begin to open up again, though new cautiousness had entered his interactions. At home, we started talking more openly about family relationships in age-appropriate ways. I explained that sometimes adults make poor choices that have nothing to do with the worth of the children in their lives. We discussed how we get to choose how much space people occupy in our hearts based on how they treat us. Most importantly, we talked about creating our own traditions that reflected our values. We can make our own special family. Just us, he asked one night as I tucked him in. We already are a special family, I assured him, and we can add people who truly care about us. Family isn't just about who you're related to. It's about who shows up. As I reflected on these conversations, I realized I was confronting patterns established long before Lucas was born. I'd spent my entire life accepting scraps of attention from my mother, making excuses for her behavior, desperately seeking approval that was consistently withheld. In trying to preserve family connections for Lucas, I'd exposed him to the same toxic dynamics that had shaped my own insecurities. The clarity was both painful and liberating. For the first time, I could see our family system clearly for what it was. And I knew that protecting Lucas might mean breaking cycles that had persisted for generations. Little did I know that my resolve would be tested sooner and more dramatically than I could have possibly imagined. Tuesdays were usually our quiet days. Lucas had early dismissal from school, and we'd established a tradition of library visits, followed by ice cream at the small shop around the corner. 3 weeks after the birthday disaster, we were following this routine. Lucas was animatedly discussing the dinosaur book he'd just borrowed when my phone chimed with a notification. The message was from my mother, sent to the entire family group chat. My stomach tightened instinctively as I opened it, but nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for what I read. An elaborately designed digital invitation filled my screen, bordered with sparkling stars and featuring a professional photo of Sophia in an evening gown. Sweet 16 Yacht Party Extravaganza, proclaimed the glittering text. Below the details of the harborside celebration, private yacht rental, and promised appearance by a minor pop star Sophia adored, was the kicker that made my jaw drop. This once-in-a-lifetime celebration comes with once-in-a-lifetime memories. Contribution, $1,500 per person. Please Venmo to Diane by May 1st to secure your place on the guest list. Additional gifts welcome, but not required. Below the invitation was a personal message from my mother. As you all know, our precious Sophia deserves only the best for this milestone birthday. Amanda and I have planned the perfect celebration, but we need everyone's contribution to make it happen. Belle will also need you to help with setup on Friday and the photo backdrop assembly. Sophia specifically requested your artistic touch. Not a single word acknowledged Lucas's birthday. Not the slightest hint of an apology for their absence. Not even a token sorry we missed it tacked on to this outrageous demand. Just an expectation that I would not only pay this exorbitant amount, but also provide free labor for the celebration of the child who was consistently prioritized over my son. I stared at the phone, my hands shaking so badly that Lucas noticed despite his usual self-absorption with his new book. "Mom, are you okay? You look really weird." I forced a smile. "I'm fine, buddy." Just a surprising message. But I wasn't fine. I was experiencing a kaleidoscope of emotions. Disbelief at the audacity, pure rage at the injustice, grief for my son. And beneath it all, that familiar, dull ache of rejection that I'd carried since childhood. The contrast was staggering. 3 weeks ago, my family couldn't spare 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon for a simple backyard party that had cost me hundreds of dollars I could barely afford. They couldn't bring themselves to show up for an 8-year-old's milestone celebration that meant the world to him. Yet now, they expected me to contribute $1,500 plus gifts, plus labor, for an extravagant party that would cost tens of thousands in total. By the way, if you're still with me and finding this story unbelievable, make sure to hit that subscribe button. More unbelievable stories are coming your way. As Lucas happily ate his ice cream, I scrolled through the rapidly accumulating responses in a group chat. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all falling over themselves to confirm their participation. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Our princess deserves the best. Just sent the Venmo payment. Many of these were the same people who had claimed car troubles, illness, and work emergencies 3 weeks earlier. The same people who had never even sent Lucas a belated birthday card or called to wish him happy birthday. My phone chimed again with a private message from Amanda. "Mom says you haven't responded about Sophia's party yet. You know how she gets when people procrastinate on the planning. And remember, Sophia wants that backdrop to look like the one from that Netflix show she likes. You're still the artsy one in the family." The sheer presumption took my breath away. Not, "Will you help?" but "Here's what you need to do." Not, "Can you afford this?" but "Pay up now." Not, "We're sorry we hurt Lucas," but "Prioritize Sophia immediately." I glanced at Lucas, who was now drawing dinosaur pictures with his finger on the table's condensation. 3 weeks ago, he had stood by our window, dressed in his special outfit, watching an empty driveway, his heart breaking a little more with each passing minute. I remembered the way his shoulders had slumped when he finally accepted no one was coming. The careful way he'd packed away the handmade gifts he'd created for each family member, including the cousin who apparently now deserved a $1,500 contribution to her birthday extravaganza. In that moment, something crystallized within me. This wasn't just about a missed birthday party anymore. This was about a pattern that would continue to wound my child throughout his life if I didn't take a stand, right here, right now. This was about teaching him, through my actions, that he deserved respect, that his feelings mattered, that unconditional love shouldn't be constantly held out of reach. I looked at the invitation again, at Sophia's smiling face and the dollar amount that represented more than a month's worth of groceries for Lucas and me. I thought about all the times I'd swallowed my hurt, made excuses for inexcusable behavior, and taught Lucas by example to accept crumbs of affection from people who should have loved him abundantly. "Mom," Lucas's voice broke through my thoughts. "Can we go to the park before we go home? I want to practice my dinosaur presentation for science class." His resilience in the face of rejection. His ability to find joy despite disappointment. It suddenly highlighted everything that was wrong with my family's dynamics. While my mother and sister cultivated entitlement in Sophia, Lucas was learning to lower his expectations and be grateful for whatever scraps of attention came his way. No more, I decided. The cycle ended now. That evening, after Lucas went to bed, I sat at our kitchen table with a cup of tea that grew cold as I contemplated my response to my mother's invitation. I wanted to be rational rather than reactive, to make a decision I could stand behind with conviction rather than regret in moments of weakness. I considered my options. I could ignore the invitation entirely, but that would likely trigger an avalanche of calls and messages demanding a response. I could make an excuse about financial hardship, but that would be met with pressure to find a way because family priorities matter. I could attend without paying, but that would subject Lucas and me to an event celebrating the blatant favoritism that had hurt him so deeply. None of these options addressed the fundamental issue: the complete disregard for Lucas's feelings and the expectation that this treatment was acceptable. After hours of reflection, I made my decision. I opened my Venmo app and sent my mother exactly $1 with a simple note: "Congratulations." Nothing more, nothing less. Not angry, not apologetic, not detailed. Just an acknowledgement that did not meet her expectations, much as her acknowledgement of Lucas's birthday had not met the basic standards of human decency. The symbolic gesture felt powerful, but I knew it wouldn't be enough. This wasn't just about one party or one slight. This was about establishing boundaries that would protect Lucas moving forward. The next morning, I called a locksmith and arranged to have our locks changed. The thought that my mother and sister had keys to our home suddenly felt invasive rather than convenient. While Lucas was at school, the locksmith replaced both the front and back door locks, providing me with a tangible sense of security I hadn't realized I was missing. That evening, I sat down with Lucas for a difficult but necessary conversation. Remember how we talked about choosing our family based on how people treat us? I began carefully. He nodded, folding his dinosaur paper into an origami creation as he listened intently. "Well, I've been thinking a lot about how Grandma and Aunt Amanda have been treating you, and treating me too. And I've decided that we need some time away from them to focus on people who make us feel good about ourselves." Lucas looked up, his small face serious. "Because they didn't come to my party?" "Partly," I acknowledged. "But it's more than that. It's about making sure we spend our time with people who value us and show us respect. People who show up when they say they will. People who make us feel special, not less than." "Like Tyler and his mom?" Lucas asked, referring to his new friend from the dinosaur club, whose mother had recently invited us for dinner. "Exactly like that," I confirmed. "So, for a while, we're going to take a break from seeing Grandma and Aunt Amanda and Sophia. We might not even go to Sophia's birthday party." Lucas considered this, his brow furrowed in thought. "Will Grandma be mad at us?" "She might be," I said honestly, "but sometimes adults need to set boundaries, even when other people don't like them. It's like at school when Mrs. Bennett has rules for the classroom. The rules aren't to be mean. They're to make sure everyone is treated fairly and with respect." He nodded slowly. "So, we have rules for our family now." "Yes," I said, relieved at his understanding. "Our rule is that we spend time with people who are kind and respectful to both of us." That night, I took the final step. I blocked my mother's number on my phone, followed by Amanda's and several other family members who had consistently participated in the toxic dynamic. I kept a detailed log of all communication leading up to this decision, saving screenshots of texts and emails, just in case. The response was swift and predictable. Unable to reach me by phone, my mother sent emails with escalating urgency. "Why aren't you answering your phone? We need to finalize Sophia's party details. Your behavior is extremely immature. Call me immediately. Amanda is in tears because of your selfishness. How could you do this to your sister?" While I didn't respond to the emails, she enlisted mutual friends and neighbors to check on me, with thinly veiled messages of concern that were clearly information-gathering missions. "Your mother is worried about you," said our neighbor, Mrs. Garcia, when she knocked on our door. "She thinks you might be going through something. Are you okay, dear?" I thanked her for her concern, but assured her we were fine. Just establishing some new family boundaries, I explained politely but firmly. Amanda took a more direct approach, leaving a voicemail on my work phone that I hadn't thought to block. "You think you're so special with your boundaries and your dramatic exit. Mom is devastated. Sophia is crying, and everyone is talking about how selfish you're being. This is her sweet 16, Belle, the biggest day of her life. But of course, you try to ruin it because you've always been jealous of her. Well, guess what? This little tantrum of yours isn't going to work. Mom says she'll give you 3 more days to apologize and send the money before she takes action." The threat was vague, but unsettling. What action could my mother possibly take? I soon found out. Messages arrived from extended family members and family friends, all with the same general theme. I was being selfish and cruel, breaking my mother's heart, jealous of my sister's happiness, and possibly unstable. A few even suggested I was having some sort of breakdown and needed help. One aunt went so far as to imply I might be an unfit mother if I was cutting off family support. The manipulation was textbook. When direct pressure failed, they resorted to triangulation, using third parties to make me doubt myself and fear potential consequences. In the past, these tactics would have worked. I would have crumbled under the weight of collective disapproval, apologized for asserting any boundaries, and fallen back in line with family expectations. But something had fundamentally shifted in me. Every message, every attempted guilt trip, every manipulative tactic only strengthened my resolve. I wasn't doing this just for myself anymore. I was doing it for Lucas, teaching him, through my actions, that self-respect wasn't negotiable. That healthy love didn't require constant sacrifice of your own well-being. For the first time in my life, I felt a chilling clarity about my relationship with my family. The fog of obligation, guilt, and hope for change had lifted, revealing a stark, undeniable reality. This dynamic wasn't going to improve. The patterns were too deeply entrenched, the roles too rigidly established. Lucas would always be the less favored child, the afterthought, the one expected to understand why his cousin's desires trumped his needs. Unless I changed the script entirely. Then, Wednesday morning, the knocks on our door came, firm and authoritative. Through the peephole, I saw 2 police officers standing on my porch, their expressions serious. My heart raced as I opened the door, my mind frantically cycling through possible emergencies. "Belle Anderson?" the female officer asked, consulting a small notebook. "Yes, that's me," I confirmed, anxiety mounting in my chest. "I'm Officer Rivera, and this is Officer Bennett. We're conducting a welfare check. Your mother, Diane Lewis, called, concerned about your well-being and that of your son. She reports that you've cut off contact suddenly and may be experiencing mental health issues that could impact your parenting. We're required to follow up on these reports." The realization of what my mother had done hit me like a physical blow. She had called the police, claiming I was potentially unstable or dangerous, all because I had set boundaries she didn't like. She had weaponized law enforcement in an attempt to frighten me back into compliance. "We're both absolutely fine," I said, working to keep my voice steady, remarkably steady. "May I ask what specific concerns were raised?" Officer Rivera consulted her notes again. "Mrs. Lewis reported that you've been acting erratically, changing your locks, cutting off family contact, and making concerning statements about your family. She's worried about your mental state and its impact on your son." I took a deep breath. "Officers, I recently made the difficult decision to create some distance from certain family members after a pattern of behavior that was hurtful to my son. I did change my locks, as is my right as a homeowner. I did limit contact with my mother and sister, as is my right as an adult, but there are absolutely no mental health or child welfare concerns here." I gestured toward our home. "Would you like to come in and see that everything is normal and my son is well cared for? He's at school right now, but I'm happy to show you his room, our fully stocked refrigerator, his school attendance records. Anything that would, I assure you, prove we're fine." The officers exchanged glances, then accepted my invitation. I showed them around our modest but clean and organized home, pointing out Lucas's artwork on the refrigerator, his well-maintained bedroom, the calendar tracking his activities and achievements. "I understand family disputes can get complicated," Officer Bennett said as they completed their inspection. "Based on what we're seeing, there's clearly no cause for concern about the welfare of your son or yourself. However, I would suggest documenting these interactions with your family in case the situation escalates further." I nodded and retrieved the folder where I'd been keeping screenshots and notes. "I've already started. This includes texts showing my family's absence for my son's recent birthday, despite confirmations they would attend, followed by demands for $1,500 for my niece's birthday celebration just weeks later." Officer Rivera looked surprised as she glanced at the documentation. "That's thorough. Smart to keep records. She handed me her card. If you experience any harassment or additional wellness checks that seem unwarranted, please don't hesitate to contact me directly. After the officers left, I sat on my couch, shaking with a mixture of anger, vindication, and residual fear. My mother had escalated to involving authorities, potentially putting my custody of Lucas at risk, all because I'd refused to comply with her demands. The manipulation had taken a dangerous, chilling turn. I called my supervisor at work to request the rest of the day off, explaining vaguely about a family emergency. I needed time to process what had happened and prepare for whatever might come next. What came next was more direct than I anticipated. As I was leaving the school after picking up Lucas that afternoon, I spotted my mother's car pulling into the parking lot. Amanda was in the passenger's seat, and they both exited the vehicle with purposeful strides, heading straight toward us. "Lucas, honey," I said quickly, my voice low and urgent. "I need you to get in the car and put on your headphones with your dinosaur show." "Okay." Adult conversation is happening. He looked confused but complied, sensing the tension in my voice. I locked him safely in the car before turning to face my mother and sister in the school parking lot. "How dare you?" my mother hissed when she reached me, her voice trembling with fury. "Blocking our numbers, changing your locks, sending $1 as an insult. Do you have any idea how you've hurt this family?" Several parents were picking up their children nearby, some glancing curiously in our direction. I kept my voice low and controlled. "This isn't the place for this discussion. And after sending police to my home with false concerns about my mental health, you've lost any right to demand conversations with me." Amanda stepped closer, her face flushed with anger. "You're ruining Sophia's birthday with your selfishness. She's been crying for days because her favorite aunt won't be at her party. How could you be so cruel to a teenage girl?" The hypocrisy was so stunning, so jaw-dropping, I almost laughed. "Interesting concern for a teenager's feelings," I replied, my voice steady even. "Where was this concern for an 8-year-old boy's feelings when none of you showed up for his birthday after promising you would?" "That was different," my mother dismissed with a dismissive wave of her hand. "We had legitimate reasons, and children need to learn disappointment. Apparently, some children more than others," I replied coldly, the truth stinging the air between us. Since Sophia has never had to experience the disappointment of an empty party where not a single family member bothered to show up. My mother's expression hardened. "This ridiculous grudge of yours needs to stop now. You're embarrassing yourself and hurting our family. I expect you to apologize, send the proper contribution for Sophia's celebration, and return to family gatherings with a better attitude." Something about her certainty, her complete confidence that I would eventually fold under pressure, as I always had before, sparked a clarity I hadn't fully accessed until that very moment. "Mom," I said quietly, firmly, "I'm not going to apologize for protecting my son from people who consistently make him feel less than. I'm not going to contribute financially to an extravagant celebration for one child when another child's simple party wasn't worth your time. And I'm certainly not going to pretend everything is normal when you just tried to use law enforcement to intimidate me." Amanda stepped forward, her voice laced with venom. "You've always been jealous of me, haven't you? Jealous that Mom loves me more. Jealous that Sophia has more talents than Lucas. Jealous that we're closer to Mom than you've ever been." Her words hung in the air between us, the family's unspoken truth finally vocalized. My mother's momentary expression of shock quickly shifted to resignation, then defensiveness. "Amanda, that's enough," she said, but there was no real reprimand in her tone, just concern about the public setting. "No, she's right," I replied calmly. "You do love her more. You always have. And you love Sophia more than Lucas. You've made that abundantly clear through your actions for 8 years. The difference is I'm no longer pretending it isn't happening, and I'm no longer exposing my son to it." My mother glanced around, noticing the attention we were attracting. "We're not discussing this here. Come to my house tonight so we can sort this out like adults." "There's nothing to sort out," I said firmly. "My boundaries are clear. I've made my decision. Lucas and I will be taking a break from family gatherings until there's genuine acknowledgement of the hurtful patterns and sincere effort to change them. You can't keep my grandson from me. My mother threatened, her voice rising. I have rights. Actually, you don't. I corrected her, my voice unwavering. Grandparents don't have inherent visitation rights when parents are fit and have full custody, which I do. And sending police to my home with false concerns has been documented and will only strengthen my position if you try to pursue this legally. I turn to walk away, but Amanda grabbed my arm. This isn't over. You think you're so perfect with your boundaries and your moral high ground. Mom has done everything for you. And this is how you repay her? By denying her access to her grandson? By ruining Sophia's special day? I gently but firmly removed her hand from my arm. I think we have very different definitions of everything, Amanda, and very different memories of her childhood. I hope someday you'll be able to see the patterns for what they are. As I walked to my car where Lucas was waiting, I heard my mother's parting shot. You'll regret this, Belle. When you have no family left, you'll realize what you threw away. I didn't turn around, didn't engage further. Getting into the car, I put on a smile for Lucas, who removed his headphones with a worried expression. Is everything okay, Mom? Was Grandma mad? Everything is fine, buddy, I assured him, hoping my voice sounded more confident than I felt. Grandma and I have different ideas about some things right now. That's all. Remember what we talked about with boundaries? He nodded solemnly. About spending time with people who are nice to us? Exactly. And right now, we're focusing on the people who make us both feel good, like Tyler and his mom, who invited us for pizza night on Friday. Sound good? His face brightened. Yeah, Tyler's mom said they have a fossil kit we can use. When we arrived home, there was a large gift basket on our porch with a card sign from your loving family. Inside were expensive toys, gift cards, and a note saying, "We miss you both. Let's put this misunderstanding behind us." The attempt at material manipulation was so transparent, it made my heart ache. No acknowledgement of wrongdoing, no genuine apology, just gifts meant to purchase compliance and a return to the dysfunctional status quo. Lucas looked at the basket with confusion. Is this because they missed my birthday? No, honey, I said truthfully. This is because they want us to forget that they missed your birthday without them having to say they're sorry. He considered this with surprising maturity. That's not really how apologies work, right? Mrs. Bennett says we have to use our words to say sorry, not just give stuff. Mrs. Bennett is absolutely right, I affirmed, marveling at his emotional intelligence. What should we do with these things? Lucas thought for a moment. Could we give them to kids who don't have toys? Like a birthday present from me to them. In that moment, my heart swelled with pride. Despite everything, my son's compassion remained intact. That's a wonderful idea. We'll take them to the children's hospital this weekend. The next day, I contacted a family attorney and filed for a restraining order based on harassment and the false police report. I didn't want to take such a drastic step, but the escalation to involving authorities had crossed a dangerous line. The attorney agreed, particularly after reviewing my documentation. This is a clear pattern of emotional manipulation escalating to potential endangerment of your parental rights, she advised. A temporary restraining order is absolutely warranted while we pursue more permanent legal protections. When the temporary order was granted, I felt a strange mixture of sadness and relief. The legal document represented both a failure and a new beginning. The family relationships I had tried so desperately to nurture, despite their toxicity, had officially shattered. But from those broken pieces, I was building something healthier for Lucas and myself. 6 months passed like a season, changing, gradual, yet utterly transformative. Lucas turned 8.5, proudly announcing the half year as significantly as his full birthday. And in many ways, it was more significant than his actual birthday had been. For his half birthday, we hosted a small gathering at the local Natural History Museum. Tyler from Dinosaur Club was there with his parents. So were 2 boys from Lucas's class and their families, people who had become genuine friends over recent months. The children dug for fossils, learned about prehistoric plants, and laughed until they were breathless in the interactive exhibit on dinosaur sounds. There were no elaborate decorations or expensive entertainers, just genuine connections, children who wanted to be there, and parents who understood the value of showing up. Lucas beamed throughout the day, introducing his friends to his favorite exhibits with the confidence of a child who knows he is valued. "This is the best birthday ever, Mom," he whispered as we drove home that evening. "Even though it's only a half one." Those words, so simple yet so profound, confirmed that we were on the right path. The restraining order against my mother and Amanda had been extended after they made several attempts to contact us through third parties and showed up at my workplace again. The legal boundaries had provided the space we needed to begin healing. Therapy had become a regular part of our lives, both individually and together. Dr. Reynolds helped Lucas process his feelings about family rejection without internalizing them as reflections of his worth. For me, therapy was a journey through decades of normalized dysfunction, recognizing patterns I'd never questioned and grieving the maternal relationship I'd always craved but never truly had. The hardest thing for adult children of emotional neglect to accept, my therapist, Dr. Chan, explained, is that the loving parent they keep hoping for may never exist. Your mother may never be capable of the unconditional love you deserve as a child, and that Lucas deserves now. Those sessions were painful but clarifying, helping me understand that my longing for family connection had often led me to accept mistreatment, not just of myself, but eventually of my son. Breaking that cycle was both an act of courage and an act of love. In the absence of my birth family, something beautiful and unexpected happened. Our social circle expanded with intentional relationships. Lucas and I joined a single-parent support group where we met others navigating similar challenges. We became regular volunteers at the community garden, forming friendships with neighbors we'd barely known before. My colleagues at school, seeing me set boundaries and prioritize well-being, became more than workplace acquaintances. Most surprisingly, my late father's sister, Janet, who had lived across the country and had minimal contact with our family for years, reached out after hearing about the situation through extended family. "Your father would be heartbroken to see how you and Lucas have been treated," she told me during our first phone call. "He always worried about the dynamics in that household, even before he passed." Through regular video calls, Janet became a loving presence in our lives, sending Lucas thoughtful gifts related to his interests and asking genuine questions about his activities. When she visited us that summer, the natural ease between them made clear what healthy family relationships could look like. 3 months after the restraining order was issued, my mother made one final attempt at reconciliation. She sent a letter through her attorney, offering to attend family therapy sessions and acknowledging that mistakes were made on both sides. The non-apology was revealing in its continued deflection of responsibility. There was no recognition of the specific harm done to Lucas, no acknowledgement of the pattern of favoritism, just a general suggestion that we had mutual issues to resolve and that I was being unnecessarily punitive by maintaining distance. After consulting with my therapist, I responded through my attorney with clear conditions for any potential future contact, acknowledgement of specific hurtful behaviors, commitment to equal treatment of all family children, respect for my parental boundaries, and individual therapy for my mother to address her own patterns. "I'm open to healing," I wrote, "but not to returning to dynamics that hurt my son." Her response was telling. She refused individual therapy as unnecessary and insisted that family therapy should focus on my overreactions and inability to forgive small slights. The exchange confirmed what I had come to understand. Real change wasn't being offered, just a return to the same patterns with slightly modified language. As for Sophia's Sweet 16, social media revealed it had proceeded as planned, yacht and celebrity appearance included. The photos showed smiling family members celebrating lavishly, seemingly unbothered by our absence. If anything, the elaborate event only highlighted the disparity in how the children in our family were valued and celebrated. In quiet moments, I sometimes felt twinges of grief for what might have been. The loss of family, however dysfunctional, carries its own unique pain. But those moments grew less frequent as our new life took shape, defined by authenticity rather than obligation, by quality connections rather than genetic ties. The most profound validation came unexpectedly 6 months into our new normal. Lucas and I were reviewing calendar dates for the upcoming month when he spotted his 9th birthday approaching. "Mom," he asked tentatively, "for my birthday this year, can I invite my real family?" "Your real family?" I echoed, not immediately understanding. He nodded, eyes wide with earnestness. "Seriously, Tyler and his parents, and Miss Janet, and your friend Maria, and the Dinosaur Club people. The people who really care about us. That's what you said. Family is, right? The people who show up." Tears pricked my eyes as I pulled him into a hug. "That's exactly right, buddy. Family is the people who show up. And yes, we'll invite all of them." The journey hasn't been easy. Setting boundaries rarely is, especially with family members who have never had to respect them before. There have been flying monkeys, guilt trips from extended family, occasional moments of doubt when the weight of cultural expectations about family obligation feels heavy. But each time I see Lucas engage with our chosen family, confident and secure in the knowledge that he is valued for exactly who he is, I know we made the right choice. Breaking the cycle of conditional love and emotional neglect isn't just about protecting him now. It's about giving him the foundation to form healthy relationships throughout his life, free from the patterns that shaped my own childhood. If you're watching this and something in our story resonates with your own experience, please know you're not alone. Setting boundaries with family is one of the hardest things many of us will ever do. But sometimes it's also the most loving choice we can make, not just for ourselves, but for the next generation. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision to protect yourself or your child from toxic family dynamics? Tell me what you think. I really want to know.